Well, we thought that 24 hours of Daytona over the weekend was all that you wanted, but no. We're going to go for another hour here on your Tuesday night primetime on RaceSpotTV and on iRacingLive. It's BOSRA, and we're here with the Synology GT3 Championship from Daytona Road next. Well, this is going to be something to behold. The second round of the championship as we jump from the land of the rising, well, not even the land of the rising sun, from the land down under. We jump over to this, a fantastic circuit full of heritage here in the United States of America. We are at Daytona Road for round 2 of this, your Synology GT3 Championship on RaceSpotTV and on iRacingLive, and sponsored by TMS Motorsports. They offer a comprehensive range of tuning parts for all makes and models with competitive pricing, worldwide delivery, and great customer service. Make sure you check them out today at tmsmotorsports.co.uk. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Jake Sperry, Connery Maddock here in the commentary box. Qualifying underway at the moment, 10 minutes, 4 laps, and with just a minute 50 on the clock, there isn't any more time to get yourself another lap. Connery, last laps are coming in on the board.
Yes, indeed they are. Hello everyone, and we're going for another hour at Daytona, so we're doing a total of 25 hours if you watch the 24-hour broadcast. Currently it is Nom on pole by about, well, that's almost half a second right there. He won last time out by a considerable margin, and he's going to be a force to be reckoned with in the future races.
Yeah, it certainly is. Ben Hackerson, former champion and second place currently. He bottles the lap, spinning out of the bus stop chicane. He will not go any quicker. He will not set himself another lap time. Just waiting here. Royal Huben's lap times are done at the moment, and just continue looking back. Still a lot of time to go. Martin Brandon then looking to try and find something a little bit better. Currently 37th and will stay at 37th for the moment. 5 different cars here, but Connery, second race in a row. That Ford GT of Eru Noms is on pole position currently, with no one really challenging.
And it's also second time in the row that he has a Ford GT right next to him in the form of his teammate Scott Brazier as well. So these two Team Bushfink cars are going to be the ones to beat throughout the rest of the season, I feel. I know we're only one race and a qualifying session into the season at the moment, but things are already planning out that way, with those two cars being the ones to beat.
10 seconds left then in qualifying right now, and I don't think Ryan Walker is going to get himself to the line. 5 seconds remain. 4, 3, 2, 1. No, he's not going to get close enough. Qualifying complete. Let's get the grid up then on screen for you. This is how everything looks. Eru Nom, the rolling Estonian, on pole position. 142.623. Only man to break that barrier for what is the second time in 2 weeks. Scott Brazier will line up alongside 1,000th quicker than Ben Hackerson there, the former champion and current champion right now, with Paul Walmsley lining up 4th. Then you got Tony Baird in 5th position. Craig Parks there in 6th with Mathieu van Delden. Great qualifying for him in 7th. John Cook lines up in 8th with JPW Ringwood 9th. And Barry Baird rounding out the top 10. Cycle it on back then down through your grid right now. We got ourselves 48 drivers once again looking to take to the start. 2 minutes then to get yourself gridded up here on the grid right now. And the big question is, it's a very difficult and quite demanding circuit at times, this one. Turn 1, you're coming off of this oval here on a standing start, so everyone's going to filter down into that apron as they head to turn number 1, which just gets tighter and tighter as you hit the brakes more and more. There is potential for incident, maybe a little bit here and there. Eyes will have to be a little bit wary as things go on during this race. Everyone now just waiting for this start to go on. You also got to look at the balance of performance. You have to think this suits the Mercedes just a little bit more with that higher gear ratio that it has coming across that oval, with a great balance it has through the mid part of the corner. But don't count those 4 GTs out. 1 and 2 at the front of your field. Bushfink there just sitting there waiting. Of course, not in the team's championships though. That's led by Bodine Solutions at the moment. But your championship leader very comfortably on pole position, has a little bit of backup there just to help him out a little bit. Just waiting 10 seconds now. Wait, otherwise you start from pit lane and there is a lot to be had. Heat haze then underneath the night sky, even under the bright lights. But let's get those engine notes revving. Round 2 of the championship from Daytona Road gets itself underway and going. You can see the big wiggles and a poor start then from the middle of the pack there from what I believe was Craig Parks. A stunning start by what I believe was Paul Walmsley then as they head into turn number 1. And already you can see Nom running a little bit wide. Ben Hackerson from 3rd on the grid looks to be at the front at the moment as they head to the International Horseshoe. Turn number 3. He is beaten off the line as Eru Nom as he looks to the inside. He's not going to do it. Now he's challenged for 2nd position here by Paul Walmsley. The fast starter won't be challenged there, but Ben Hackerson shows his class. He takes the lead.
Yeah, there's a reason why he won this series last season, and if he can pull off more moves like that, then he may be champion at the end of this season, but it is far, far, far too early to tell at the moment as they head down into turn 5, the second International Horseshoe right now, powering out the corner, down towards the corner just before we get onto the oval. Benjamin Hackerson still leading, followed by Eru Nom as they go through there, but now they come onto the NASCAR banking, and this is where straight line speed and drafting really plays a massive factor.
It certainly does. Draft Fest Cities, they head through NASCAR 1 and 2. Craig Parks under pressure from Tony Baird, side by side behind that. Mathieu van Delden's had a poor start as Craig Williams there down on the inside, looking to try and find a way through at the end. At the front, no real changes as they head to the bus stop. Ben Hackerson can't do anything. Well, Eru Nom even can't do anything about it. He'll have to wait behind just for the time being. But the side by side then, it ends in Van Delden's favour there as he now looks to try and make his way through the field even further as Tony Baird just sits there in front of him waiting patiently for that one big opportunity. 1 hour, don't have to make the move straight away. There is pit stops here in this series. One pit stop has to be made here during this race, and they're fueled to about 30-35 minutes. So you are going to see some strategy come into play later on as they head to start the finish line for the very first time. Eru Nom side by side as they go over 13 thousandths. Your leader as he crosses, he takes the race lead for the moment. Walmsley takes the wide line and goes incredibly wide, and that's going to open the door for Scott Brady and to go side by side. Connor as they head to the International Horseshoe.
Yeah, very close racing through there as Paul Walmsley just gets a little bit tail happy coming through the S's. Now down on the inside of the International Horseshoe. That's JPW Ringwood trying to move around the outside, but he will have to file in behind. And now, at this point, your cars are going to split up into draft packs right now. This front pack has split up itself a little bit. There's a little bit of a gap between your top 3 cars, but that closes up as they come through turn 5. But if you look back right now, they're all in one big line right now, but there's a split in the middle of your field. There's Neil Bamber in 17th place, and he has quite a considerable margin over Simon Jackson in 18th place, and this field will just fragment more and more as the race goes on.
Yeah, it certainly will. Simon Underhill had a little bit of a look at Raoul Hoban there in the 044 machine heading on to the oval section. That's compromised his run. Keep an eye out on that one later on, but for the moment you can see the gap starting to form here just a little bit. Eru Nom was so successful there in that middle section of the circuit. He's already opened up about a 4/10 gap then as they head through the chicane then for the second time this evening. Lap times, you're looking at about 1:45s around here. Paul Walmsley under threat from JPW Ringwood then as they head through NASCAR turn number 3, heading to NASCAR turn number 4, looking for a way to go through, but that draft will come into effect as everyone gets a little bit of toes about who gets the most. Ringwood will try and close, but you can see once again, it's a big closing in factor for Paul Walmsley. He'll look to the outside potentially of Scott Brazier, who sits there on the inside. No, he'll wait on it. He'll play the strategy game with the fuel. That's going to allow a little bit of wiggling behind there from JPW Ringwood. Lines astern then as they head into turn number 1. Nothing going to be doing there, but we've got side by side. Rahubin and Matisse and Delden have had a big incident at turn 1. Delden's hit the tyre barrier, and that's a big one that's gone in, Connery.
No, it's a very, very big one. Rahubin hard into that inside pit, almost into, yeah, that is actually into the tyre barriers just before the pit road wall right there. Just as you come off of pit road. That is a very, very, very heavy incident there from Roll Huben as they both go spinning across the track in turn 1. I'm not entirely sure who to blame for that one. Delden getting off much, much lighter than his than the other car though.
Yeah, he's been a little bit lucky in terms of that one, but there's still some great battling here throughout the field. Look at this mid-pack that is all closed up behind Simon Jackson.
Sorry, Jake, there's Martin Galensky in the number 013 car. He has hit some Arco barrier. That is just before the International Horseshoe, and it's going to be contact with Chris Butterhill for that one. Chris Butterhill just taking too much of the track exit right there, not really aware of the car on his outside, spins Martin Galensky into the grass and into the Arco barrier.
Yeah, Martin Gallenke then getting into a bit of problems then. Replay then was up on screen. You can see just getting himself a little bit turned around. He can't afford to be turned around in a series like this, especially when points are so crucially there on offer. You got to try and get as much as you can. Side by side though, Adam Atherton there with Soren Kroos there, the Norwegian just ahead of him in that McLaren. But you can see that McLaren power coming into effect now, trying to break away as much as he can. But that toe will come now into effect for Atherton as he looks to try and close it in as they head to the tri-oval then for what is the 3rd time in this race, and 5 minutes already passing and no real changes at the front. They stay a group of 6 there, and Kroos goes incredibly deep and so lucky that he didn't take the back there of Simon Underhill in the 007 machine, and James Bond Espionage got himself out of the way of that one. Very, very lucky there, Connery. Could have ended in substantial tears.
That was very, very, very close to being a really big incident coming down into turn 1. The turn 1 braking zone is a very, very difficult one. You're basically turning and braking at the same time, and there's a couple of bumps in the track that can unsettle the car as well as you come off the banking. So it's very, very deceivingly simple, but just looking back towards the front of your race, it is still Eero Nom, followed by Benjamin Haxton, followed by Paul Walmsley. I saw some fighting going on right there, and that was actually Paul Walmsley getting past JPW Ringwood. That is a bit of a tongue twister there, Jake, but he currently is in 4th place, and Paul Walmsley is in 3rd.
Yeah, and Scott Brazier's been the biggest loser in all of that one. He's dropped a mile, as you can see. Parks to the inside then at the bus stop, and they touch, and they both have to go straight on. Parks and Ringwood then take to the escape road. That will serve a slowdown penalty, and there's a bit of lack of miscommunication between the two of them, and they have to be careful about things like that. Look at this run then that Tony Baird's going to have on the outside of JPW Ringwood. He'll storm himself past on the top side. Replay up on screen, and that one is people just trying to find themselves a way in, and no one really understanding who's going to turn in the latest.
Yes, indeed, and JPW Ringwood just making the wrong decision to turn in early right there. You could say that Craig Parks straight lined the beginning of the corner a little bit, but it's very, very hard to tell. It's going to have to be the one for the stewards to deliberate, but they will both receive a slowdown penalty for cutting the bus stop like that. So I think justice has been done already, if you ask me.
Yes, it has. Aaron back through then on Ben Haxton, made the move at turn number 1. A fantastic little effort then from Aaron, but Haxton's not going to give it up too easy. Don't count out Paul Walmsley here in this situation, but so much more speed carried through that kink. I think that's where the advantage is going away here for Ben Haxton, because he took that all shades of wrong, lost 0.3 of a second, and you can see Aaron just pushing himself a little bit more than Ben Haxton is at the moment. Cone flies across into the infield then as they get up onto the oval once again here, and you can see Aaron just gets that advantage here, Connery. He gets enough through the infield. It means he doesn't have to worry as much come the end of this one, but you know, if you get that run out of the bus stop come those final few laps, you know it's so pivotal that you can get yourself a race win off of just pure slipstream alone.
Yes, you can, and that's what Benjamin Haxon and Paul Walmsley are going to have to do at this point. I think Aeronom is way too strong through that infield to try and make a pass there. So Benjamin Haxon and Walmsley, they basically have to stick with him until the final lap and try something coming out of the bus stop. They're in NASCAR turn 3 and 4 right now. Look at Benjamin Haxon just close up on that 4GT of Aeronom. He's going to have to try and time this. He lifts out that time. He'll definitely won't be lifting out for the final lap. There goes Walmsley. He's not lifting out. He's just going to go and try and take second place, maybe even first here as they come across the stripe. But no, he's just going to back out. Happy with second right now. But again, on the final lap, that definitely won't be happening, and they will be going all out for that race win.
Track position then is everything. Walmsley moves himself up into the driver's seat, a second position now, looking to try and do something about Aeronom, but Nom already opening up a 3/10 gap in just 3 corners alone, and that just closes that group down. Tony Baird to the back, Craig Parks to the back now, as they all look. Ben Haxon now looking for a way through here at the kink into this left-hander. They go along, not going to happen through there. You don't want to be too wide heading into this second horseshoe here around the second Daytona road. Side by side though behind Barry Baird and Craig Williams then going at it side by side, and through will go the driver of John Cook then. Upper position, he holds on to it just for now. Actually does Craig Williams on Barry Baird, excuse me ladies and gentlemen. Baird starting to fall down through the field. That's 2 positions in this lap alone he's lost. And Simon Underhill not too far away, Connery. Problems then for the driver in the 006 machine.
Yes, indeed, as you see them come onto NASCAR turn 1 and 2 right now. Don't think there's going to be any attempt for passes. Opposition looking for some good movers throughout your field, though. Soren Cruz is up 4 positions. He's up to 12th after originally starting in that 16th position. As we watch this group of Cook, Williams and Barry Baird, they're just breaking down into the bus stop right now. Barry Baird getting a good first part of the bus stop, but does not get as good of a second part. So that gap is going to stay relatively consistent right there, Jake.
Yeah, it certainly is, but no tail for the lead. They're going to be once again, and Walmsley waiting there. You thought that gap opened up a little bit too much, that lap time bike, but it hasn't, because you can see he goes high side, looking to try and cut himself as much of a gap down to the inside, and that's not going to do anything for the moment. He has to sit, he has to wait, just looking to play that game. Fuel's going to be key here. If you run your man out of fuel at the front of the field, you know that you can start playing the game. Maybe save some time in the pit stop window when you put in less fuel in the car to try and get yourself more drag, and hope you have a drafting partner coming out of it. That pit stop is going to be oh so paramount come the end of this one. Underhill then has Soren Cruz for a little bit of company behind, then in his second group chase there with Adam Afton just behind that. Shipstone trying to get onto the back in the 57, and Neil Bamber waiting as well. Shout out though to the driver of Paul Martin. He's up 6 positions from 25th on the grid right now, doing a fantastic job of things at the moment. But look at this train, 7-8 cars all split by a blanket right now. John Cook is going to have to try and lead them forward though, but they are 3.6 seconds at least off of the back of JPW Ringwood right now, Connery.
Yes, they are. As we just saw that number 49 of Adam Afton just get an absolutely horrendous exit off of the turn before the banking right there. It's just going to compromising on the run all the way down to the bus stop. That's one of those corners that you definitely don't want to be getting wrong here, Jake. It just compromises you for way too long. But look ahead, there's Barry Baird. He's showing the nose on Williams right there, but does not go for the move just yet. It's just a little bit of taunting right now from Baird.
Yeah, it's all about mind games right now, as you can see here. Just behind John Cook is Craig Williams. He might play some mind games. He might say, I want to go to the front, and you know what, he might try and make the push, and he does. He bump drafts it through. He wants to give himself a little bit more of an opportunity here to make that getaway, and that getaway isn't quite happening the way they wanted it to. Barry Baird then just behind, closing in with the draft. You can see looking to go a little bit side by side, backs out of it very there wisely. Does Craig Williams. There's head turn number 1 side by side behind Cruz and Underhill looking to go at it, but Cruz runs wide. That's going to allow Atherton back into the situation. That poor run hasn't really affected him. Lap traffic coming out into the fray as well. But something to note is Ben Hackison has dropped down to 4th position at the front of this field here, Connery, and 1.2 seconds behind. He's on the fringes now of picking up that draft, but as you say that, he does really well to get right back tucked in underneath.
That was very aggressive on the brakes there from Benjamin Hackison. Does not lock them up though. These GT3 cars do have those anti-lock brakes, so that is less of an issue as it would be in some other cars. That just brings him right back onto the back of Craig Parks getting the benefit of that draft. But look at the gap between first and second, though. Aeronom and Paul Walmsley. That is as big of a gap as I've seen during this race, and Aeronom is at a might be able to break the draft to second place right here, because he has a lapped car ahead of him that he could get the draft off of to help him do that.
Yeah, he might have that draft here broken, but you can see that run coming out is going to be oh so crucial. We'll see what the gap is when they cross the line. It doesn't look like inroads have really been made, but you just start to pick up the fringes, and Nom, using that superior advantage in the infield, might be trying to use it. Parks looking at the outside then, potentially, as they come in. Lap traffic will also help Aeronom in this situation, as Moore Herman there is just ahead right now. You can see he's just going to come right in underneath. The blue flag will wave side by side behind as Craig Parks looks to go to the outside to try and get a position. He won't do it. Now there's a car in between them. Now the gap 0.6 of a second, and now it's all in Aeronom's favour here as he looks to go through turn number 1. Gap down to 0.4 though, but that advantage has been well and truly established, Connery.
Yes, it has, as they come on the brakes into the International Horseshoe. Benjamin Haxon again going very, very deep on the brakes. He's perhaps a little bit of his style right there. Just prefers to use a little bit more of the brakes than other drivers, but I think it's just because he's pushing hard to try and keep with this pack right now, as Aeronom, he hasn't really pulled out the gap in his infield as we've seen him before. Paul Walmsley is still right there as they come through turn 6 right now. We will see what the gap, a visual gap between these two cars as they come out of turn 6, and again, I don't think that is expanded that much, that gap.
No, I don't think it has, but Paul Walmsley's been doing very well at keeping himself in check. Aeronom's last lap was a 1:42.9. That was his quickest lap of the race by a considerable margin there. He was about 0.4 of a second quicker than his previous lap, which was, at that time, his fastest lap of the race. They head into the bus stop once again. Paul Walmsley, in response, did a 1:43.3. Compare that to the 1:43.2 of Craig Parks, who's looking to try and pull it in. And again, that gap has pretty much stabilised. Once again, Ben Hackerson, though, has gone off there behind.
Ooh.
A big one there for Ben Hackerson. 2 in 2 races. He's run into issues, has the number 001. Connery, it's a big one, and he's stuck in the fence, joined by Lee Woodburn.
Yeah, it's a solo car incident for Benjamin Haxon. He got it all sorts of wrong coming into the bus stop. I'm not exactly sure what happened to the other driver you just mentioned right there, but maybe a little bit of a crash in sympathy.
Yeah, crash in sympathy it was, and that was just enough to say that Ben Hackerson, for the second consecutive race, could be out of this one in terms of scoring some really good points. Aeronom coming up to traffic then goes around the outside of Martin Brandon, who was pretty much parked in the middle of the circuit.
Oh, sorry, Jake. There goes Barry Baird. He's around in turn 1. We'll have to see what has happened to him. And it's contact with very many other cars right there. There was a 3-wide situation coming down into turn 1 with Craig A. Williams and Soren Cruz. And it just goes all sorts of wrong for all of your drivers involved in the middle of the corner. Perhaps Barry Baird got the worst of it right there. No serious contact with other cars, but Baird losing a lot of time.
Baird lost a lot of time, and Taylor Lane has hit the inside retaining wall coming into turn number 1 of the pit exit as well. So Taylor Lane in a lot of troubles there early on in this one. We're on lap 10 here of this 1-hour event. About 15 minutes. Gap has opened up to a second then in the battle for second place. The gaps have severely opened up right now. It's a 3-car little scrap then for what is second position right now. You got Craig Parks then at the front trying to break away. Paul Walmsley behind, and Tony Baird here, the other Baird brother here, just looking to try and get himself onto the back. Of course, the two Bairds, identical twins as we found out last week. So really a lot to be looking forward to here in the racing. Aeronom out and away at the moment here as we look further back through your field. You got Williams and Underhill then pretty much nose to tail at the moment. Battle for what is, I believe, 10th place here out on circuit, and Simon Underhill in that 007 machine, tucked right underneath Williams here, looking for maybe an opportunity. The pit stop window theoretically opens in about the next 3 minutes or so. We might see the first of the stragglers come in, looks to the inside, backs out of it. A wise decision there from Simon Underhill. Another little look, not going to happen.
Yeah, he had another slight look just as he saw Williams pushed wide in the middle of turn 1. It wasn't to be though, so he just files in right behind. Very, very patient and driving right there. They have some lapped car, ahead of them. That is of Moore Herman in that number 47. He will get out of the way right here. Will he compromise Simon Underhill coming through the kink? little bit, but not too much to perhaps make it very, very obvious. There's another lapped car that these guys will have to deal with. That is Lee Woodburn in the number 36 as well. So lap traffic already playing a factor in this one.
Yeah, it certainly is right now. As you can see, into this left-hander they come along, looking to get themselves back up then onto the surface. Right now, the battle for P2 though intensifying a lot then. As you can see right now, Parks under threat. Walmsley's already got himself through then on this driver of Craig Parks, and the 002 machine then is in a little bit of trouble then, as he has lost himself a lot of time then. Car ahead of Rick Fowler, that's going to help then the driver of Paul Walmsley as he gets to it first, but you can see though he has to pull out of it and pulls out quite severely to the right hand side. That will sacrifice a couple of miles an hour. As you can see though, you can see the driver behind it, Craig Parks, he will very, very slowly go out. Oh, they almost touch. As down onto the apron then goes Rick Fowler for a scheduled stop. Already you can see a lot happening, and now Tony Baird all over the back. What this has done is opened the gap to 1.6 seconds. Nom is away, and this could be the signaling of the end of the race, barring any unforeseen circumstance.
Perhaps a little bit of a saving grace for Walmsley, Parks and Baird is that Aeronom hasn't really had that much of a chance to fuel save. He's been at the front for most of this race. Yes, he can fuel save behind the lapped cars right here, but it's not going to be as much as some of our other drivers, and as a result he may have a longer pit stop than some of your other drivers. He has to put more fuel in because he's been using more of it. So I don't know, this isn't done yet, Jake.
No, it's certainly not signed, sealed and delivered, but maybe it's the first nail in the proverbial coffin. You can see cones getting scattered about by Paul Walmsley as they head themselves down onto the brakes. Traffic not being helpful for Tony Baird behind. He's going to lose time, and Scott Brazier now waiting in the wings then as they all look to get close. Then the game of cat and mouse continues to go on then here in the early stages of this race. Don't forget to look behind though, because you've got likes of Simon Underhill, Craig Williams, John Cook, JPW Ringwood then all in this second pack. 5 cars in the space of 2 seconds right now here out on circuit, and that's only going to get closer as the slipstream comes in right now. Got the likes of Simon Underhill then going to the inside of Williams, who's going to back out of it a little bit if I think I see that correctly, and try and use that run into turn number 1 to as much an advantage as he can. Into the left, now the right will open into this next right, and back to the left again. In front of that though, Cook all over the back of JPW Ringwood. To the outside he goes through 3 and 4, and you can see he's being pushed a little bit high then, and you can see that track will rubber in as time goes by, and the fact he's being pushed high now means he's not getting the best of the rubber cornering, and it means he might have the slower line parabola as they're going to go side by side with traffic ahead.
Yeah, this is going to be a very, very sketchy situation as they come down into turn 1. They just file in single file. Well, a little bit too wide with the lapped car right there, but that could have been much more dangerous going 3 wide down into turn 1. We saw how that ended for a couple of drivers just a couple of laps ago.
Yeah, we certainly did, and we cannot afford, or they cannot afford, to see a situation like that happen again. Battle for second still going on here. Walmsley and Parks then 2 and 3 at the moment, 1.7 behind the leader, and you can see Craig Parks here at the front of this one. He's found a way past Paul Walmsley, if you believe that 1,000th of a second split them here in what was that last lap going by, then you have to say they were really looking for ways to go forward right now. Walmsley then takes that wider line out to the exit, tries to open up, come down the hill then on the bank, a little bit like a cyclist does in terms of the Kieran, you could say, looking to try and use as much of the slope, use as much gravity as they can to get that little bit of an advantage. But at the moment, pulling away a little bit there is the driver of Tony Baird from Scott Brazier behind that. But these two at the moment here in second and third, you can see nose to tail at the moment here as they're looking to go through. Keep your eyes on pit lane as well. We might see that in the next 10 minutes come into effect. If you come in on your own, you might be in a little bit of trouble, Connery.
You may well be, as I think we just saw Simon Underhill just get past JPW Ringwood right there. That was coming into the bus stop with a little bit of help from some lap traffic as well. Speaking of lap traffic though, there is the car of Lee Bunker right there. These guys are going to be coming up on in just a couple of seconds right here. But again, P2, Craig Parks versus Paul Walmsley, and Parks now through. So could it be that these guys are working together to try and catch Aeronom, or are they just absolutely fighting it out for everything right now?
Well, I think they're fighting out for everything, and I think the lap times are starting to suggest this a little bit. You look at their quickest lap times around the 143s. They were looking at the low 143s. That last lap time was a low 144 there from Craig Parks for Paul Walmsley's ditto. So you have to say, with Aeronom's 43.5, keeping that consistent pace going, they are not going to be catching anytime soon the back of the rolling Estonian. Right now you can see Paul Walmsley there in third position, looking for a way through. Baird now on the back, and Brazier waiting to play this game then, as these four cars were split by 1.3 seconds the last time they crossed the line here on lap 14 of this event. 1 hour we're playing here on iRacingLive and on RaceSpotTV as well. As you can see here, just heading yourself then through this NASCAR turn 1 and 2 onto the back straight then of Daytona. They come along. Walmsley all over the back of Parks, probably waiting for a good run coming out of this chicane. You can see the closing factor coming in there from the driver of what was Tony Baird, just waiting to play that game, taking a lot out of the corner there. You can really abuse that second curb there of the bus stop chicane, but it's a very tight line, Connery, especially with that grass, which is so unforgiving.
Yes, it is, and it is also very tight in terms of slowdown penalties in that section of the track as well. If you're a little bit too abusive with the curves, then the iRacing system can penalize you for doing it in the form of a slowdown penalty. So that's definitely not what these drivers will want right now as they come down into turn 1. Again, no changes of position just yet. Paul Walmsley very deep on the brakes, almost running into the back of Craig Parks, but no harm done right now. But what I'm interested in is this pit cycle that we're going to be coming up on in not too shortly right here. If Aeronom needs to take a longer pit stop, which I think he probably does, he's not been doing enough fuel saving, I don't think, with how long he's been out front, then that might drop him back into this second pack, which would throw a spanner into it for sure.
Yeah, it certainly would, and that's going to be something to look out for here coming into later on in this race. But there is also battles up and down the fields, we keep stating. What about Simon Underhill? John Cook doing a great job, and also JPW Ringwood as well, starting to fall a little bit back through the field, and he's got to be a little bit careful about falling back through this field. You don't want to sacrifice too much time come the end of this one here, but that's a train of 3 going on in this battle, Connery. And I've been looking at John Cook, actually. He's up 2 positions today from where he started, and he's just kept himself quite quiet in terms of making his moves. He's done nothing understated. He hasn't really been flamboyant in terms of his overtakes. He's just been pretty much by the book, get the move done, and try and do the best you can.
Yeah, and that's the style of some drivers right here as he negotiates some lap traffic. In Ian Robson not giving him too much of an issue. Another big mover is Simon Underhill, which is the car right behind John Cook right there. He's been up, if I look here, 6 places as he actually gets it wrong. I'm really sorry, Simon Underhill, to give you the curse of the commentator right there, but yeah, curse of RaceSpotTV, curse of the commentator.
Yeah, replay then. Let's get that one up on screen. And that was just simply ran too wide into the corner, didn't hit enough on the brakes, and a big slide. And so lucky there was the driver of, I believe, JPW Ringwood. Yes, it was, who just got so close. And now they're side by side between the two as they head to the trioval. That's JPW Ringwood and Craig Williams going at it 2x2, almost touching in the middle of the circuit then as they come down into turn number 1. Soren Kroos now looking down the inside and will actually look to take the position there of Adam Atherton, caught him napping. Very good job then by the Norwegian. So already you're seeing then moves starting to take effect. Everyone looking to try and get themselves into the shuffle right now in terms of this race. We've hit over 25 minutes, and now you can see Rick Fowler in the middle of the circuit then for the cars in P number 2. The Walmsley getting past just now. Baird looking to get past. Brazier then is going to be the sitting duck in all of this one, and might actually use this as an advantage as Baird's going to go in. Are they going to Zonta and Schumacher it? Yes, they are. There's contact, and round goes Brazier, and round goes Fowler. He was too eager, Connery, as he headed into the oval.
Oh no, Scott Brazier just tapping the driver of Nick Fowler around. That was a lapped car as well, and I don't think you can pin any of the blame on the lapped car right there. Scott Brazier was way too eager for my liking, and he paid the price for it.
Yes, maybe he did, but also now that might play into the strategy call here just a little bit for Scott Brazier. He is in a little bit of a world of his own. He has John Cook behind. He may have a little bit of damage. He might come in. He might try and repair that damage in his pit stop, get out and away, and hope for a little bit of help then in terms of some lap traffic coming.
Crash involving Soren Kroos right there and Craig A. Williams. It's an absolutely massive one now, just talking about it. a little bit of miscommunication coming off of NASCAR Turn 2. Song Cruise wanted to pull out and pass JPW Ringwood, didn't see Craig A. Williams there, and sends both cars hard into the soft barrier right there, and also Song Cruise goes for a few flips as well.
Yes, he does, and well, that's a big accident then to have, and well, for Craig Williams, they're very fortunate that it's just a 2-car incident come the end of that one, but that does mean that there's a lot of problems. Brazier has come down onto pit road and misses his box, so that's a big crucial factor then for Scott Brazier. His race going from bad to worse, the red mist starting to descend a little bit, and mistakes creeping in, Connery, here as we head to the halfway stage.
Yep, that's definitely going to lose him at least a second right there, which he can't really afford to be losing at this point in the race. He's already had an incident, and any further time he's losing is just adding insult to injury. Currently it is Aeronom still leading, and most of the front half of your field still have not pitted yet, but expect that in the next couple of laps.
Yeah, we might see that in the next couple of laps. They might try and stretch it as long as they possibly can. Paul Walmsley under threat again then from Craig Parks all over the back as they see down into the bus stop they come again, and giving that buffer again is Craig Parks. Will look to try and utilise it coming off the exit, but a stunning run there off of the corner there for Paul Walmsley means he just gets those 3/4 tenths of a second. That gives him the advantage then as they head to NASCAR 3 and 4 for the moment right now. Remember, Aeronom was the last to pit at Phillip Island round 1 of the season. He won't come in this time by. Will any of the second, third and fourth come in? There's a little bit of a feint there from Paul Walmsley, and he's not going to do it. And actually, he's going to let Craig Parks go into second position. Tactics coming into effect, Connery, down into turn number 1, lap 18 of the event, and Craig Parks then up into second position.
Yep, and we're just about to hit the halfway stage. We have 30 minutes and 10 seconds remaining in this race as we watch the battle between Parks and Walmsley. They just negotiate a lapped car. And there's also Tony Baird. Let's not forget about Tony Baird. He's just been watching and stalking this battle right now. The Seagate driver doing relatively well. He's up 1 place already. Most of your top 10 are up at least 1 place, but one big mover though is Adam A. Afton in that number 49 car. He is up 11.
Yeah, he is up 11 positions at the moment. Just seen a car run wide at turn number 1 on circuit. That's Ian Robson. He is lap traffic there, getting out of the way, doing what he needs to do here. It's so difficult when you lap traffic around a circuit like this, especially when the leaders one after another come into play. You don't get a rhythm sorted, Connery, and that's where the mistakes start to occur, as you're constantly looking in your rear view mirror instead of looking forward at this circuit. So for a back marker as well, you could argue it's almost even more difficult than the cars trying to get past.
Yeah, generally if you're lap traffic, you want the other cars to get past on the straights and on the NASCAR bankings, but when it comes to the infield, there isn't very much room to maneuver in that section. It is very, very tight. The track is very narrow, so they're just getting the faster cars held up, and the faster cars can get frustrated, and again, the lapped cars just have to deal with it, I guess.
Yeah, they do have to deal with it. We've just seen the driver there of Jan Musleva then coming away with it, but into the pits comes Aeronom, first of the leaders to come in. Race leader then down onto the lane for now, and that's a pretty big one here, Connery. Your race leader's in and looking to try and get himself out and away, and with a little bit of a gap then, let's see what drafting partner he has coming the end.
Yep, he gets in his box all fine, so no time lost right there. But he will be only taking fuel. No point in taking tyres in these GT3 cars for a race as short as this. Also, Adam Atherton and Simon Underhill, they're going to come down pit road as well at the same time as your race leader. But there's goes 20 seconds in the box for Aeronom, and it'll be interesting to see how different that is compared to the rest of the drivers that'll come in as he gets away. Let's have a look at who he comes out on track with. There's a gaggle of cars ahead of him. Moore Herman, Ian Robson and Jonathan Beresford also coming off of pit road. So he may have a little bit of a drafting pack right here he can benefit from. No one behind him though.
No one behind him, and that's something quite crucial for him. He's not going to be challenged from behind, but in front you can see a lot of troubles ahead. Herman just gets a big wiggle through the mid part of the corner, and that's going to start slowing things down. And remember, he's got to get past lap traffic for one, but if there's anything from position, they're not inclined to let him through. He gets past one, if he gets past the other, he'll be there plain and sailing. looking to get himself forward in this event, and for the moment, things look fine. But at the front, though, of your field right now, they've just come out of the bus stop. Then your leading three, Part, Walmsley and Baird, they've got to make as much time as they can in a section like this. This is where you have to work together, but there will be ulterior motives from other drivers in this situation. Who's going to respond then and make the cover? You can see looking to come in underneath. One comes in, two comes in. We could see an overtake down to pit road. Baird stays out. They're neck and neck as they come down in. Battle of the pit crews. Let's go.
Yeah, this is absolutely fantastic to watch as they all track towards the left-hand side of pit road. Paul Wimsley will have to go in first right here as they go down into their... Actually, Craig Parts will have to be the earlier pit stop. As they get into the boxes almost exactly the same time. We will have to watch the pit stop times in relation to Eru Nom as well, so this is going to be tense.
Yeah, it certainly is. And where is Eru Nom right now? And the answer is he's coming into the tri-oval. So this is where it all might play out in this one. Don't count Tony Baird out either. If it's a blistering lap time, he will be in situation. Out then come the leaders then. It's going to be the driver of what is Paul Walmsley then, who wins that race. But nothing compared to Eru Nom. Nom's got them both. Nom has really got them both.
Instant and pit exit.
Yeah,
sorry, I think.
Pit exit. Yeah, Parks on pit exit. They're trying to get past Rick Fowler, and actually he's being incredibly held up, and he turns the man around. Rick Fowler for the second time gets turned by leaders, and unbelievable scenes down on pit road. Nothing Parks can do. It's cost him an entire podium, surely.
Yeah, indeed, and he may have a little bit of a discussion with the stewards after the race as well. I think he got very, very frustrated that Rick Fowler still had the pit limiter on coming off the pit road. The pit speed cone is way, way, way before that point, so you can get up to racing speed. So Craig Parks just getting very, very frustrated behind that car, and then that spin happened, I guess.
Yeah, that spin did happen. Tony Baird then looking towards pit road, and he will come down in this time by. Now it's the big game. Does he get down onto the brakes hard enough? I think he just does. I think he gets away with it. 55 miles an hour then on the limiter you have to be, as he looks for his box then on the left-hand side. Looks to pull in then down onto pit lane. His box there in the 004. It's going to be representative. Look at him to be about the 5th box down, and he stops there very nicely. Now it's down to Eru Nom. Has he done enough? You look at Paul Walmsley. He has closed in over that stint, over the pit stops there. He's managed to gain a little bit of time there on Eru Nom. That might play into Baird's factor then, and it doesn't seem to be that there's any real traffic on pit lane either. Maybe Rick Fowler who's come into the box, but that's just about it. And I think for the moment that is going to be out and away Tony Baird. I think there's going to be a little bit of saying to come that, because Eru Nom's away, but where is the driver of what is Walmsley right now? And there is contact to turn 1 there. Connery, what are you seeing?
No, it was actually inside pit road. That was Tony Baird just clipping the outside wall of the pit exit right there. Actually very, very hard. So not just clipping. And that is very, very easy to do. This is a very tough pit road exit, and you can get it all wrong very quickly.
Oh yeah, he certainly did. You can see he was trying to cut the corner as much as he possibly could, but you could see he just didn't do it well enough. He just got himself completely into that inside retaining wall, and that has completely affected his race. Paul Walmsley there in 2nd position, but Eru Nom crucially out and away as the groups are split up then here towards the front of your field right now. Brazier's got an advantage, Cook on his own, Ringwood there on his own as well, but he's got Simon Underhill just behind him then in the battle for 7th position. That one will continue to go on, and between Ringwood then and Underhill, both of them then looking for some consistent points. Underhill, the bigger mover of the two though, he's been up a good 5 positions then during this race, doing a great job as things stand at the moment, Connery, and now it's all about one against his man come the end of the race.
Yeah, it's going to be that pro Synology driver in Simon Hunter versus the privateer DAX Motorsports driver of JPW Ringwood as they draft down into the bus stop. There goes Simon Underhill. He's going to look towards the inside. Maybe he's a little bit too far back. He is a little bit too far back as they come on the entry to the bus stop. Let's see what their exit speeds are like. I believe... Oh, there's nothing to choose between them right there.
Yeah, there is nothing to choose between. Tony Baird, though, will come back onto the lane again, and that is crucial. Very early stages in this championship. It will be happening all year long from this January up over until November, December time, and that one instant could play dividends come the end of this season. Baird back in then for a second time, and he'll think twice about going quick then, coming off of the lane then, and you can see just how much time he's losing. And actually, let's look at Scott Brazier for a moment, because look at the traffic he's got to get past here. Jonathan Beresford there just ahead, Chris Butterhill.
Oh, another issue pit exit. Sorry, Jan Miltsever, that number 21 guy, he had an issue on pit exit, and he actually collected another car for his troubles. That was Rick Fowler, also having issues coming off the pit road. So these drivers are very, very scared of this pit exit, I guess.
Yeah, they are. Oh, that's Tony Benn again. Contact there coming down to turn number 3 as well. Who's hit him? The answer is Neil Bamber's come into the back of him. Unbelievable scenes there. Tony Benn can't catch a break to save his life right now. It's just one of those things, Murphy's Law, one incident after the other, and it all ends up in tears right now. Ringwood's got to keep himself calm ahead, though, of Simon Underhill on an unrelated note right now. They come back into the oval. Gap at the front, though, Connery. 3 seconds to Aeronom.
Aeronom is just stretching his legs at this point, and that's not really surprising considering what happened in the first round. He did the exact same thing, but I gotta say, Tony Benn is going to have to take one of these weeks as his drop week, because you do get a couple of drop weeks in this series, and this will definitely be one of them for him.
Yeah, I've just seen JPW Ringwood and Simon Underhill then just completely both mess up that bus stop chicane. Both of them looking to try and play chicken with each other in the end. Both of them lose out, because look at Simon Underhill now come back at it. They've dropped about 3 seconds through that corner, and Underhill coming back in under the slipstream, looking to get back to the back, and now he moves to the outside then, looking to try and use that canvas, use that ring to get himself into turn number 1 as good as he can. Gets on the brakes earlier though as Ringwood looks to come in, looks for that little undercut. Not going to happen just yet, waiting for the times. 20 minutes left to go then, there or thereabouts here in this race, and this one looking more and more like Nom's favour right now as they head through. Still got some great battling there behind, got likes of Adam Atherton and Adam Shipstone then within a second, with Barry Baird just ahead, Connery.
Yes, they are, as they come onto the brakes into the International Horseshoe. Not really close enough for any active fighting right now, but we could see this close up over the next 20 minutes exactly that we have in this race left, but Aeronom just has to bring it home at this point.
Yeah, he certainly does, and he's got himself that advantage, but don't count out here in this battle for what is the final parts of your top 10 right now. Don't count out Neil Bamber in the 005 machine. He's there in 11th position, up 7 positions then for his day so far, looking to get the 8th on Adam Shipstone then as they head through this left-hander onto the oval. Then they will come along. You can see that gap opens out just a little bit then, and it will look to come in closer and closer then through this next section. You can see heading themselves up through the gears, 150 miles an hour for Adam Shipstone, 155, you keep going and going, 160, you just keep going on, no limiters of course. You can see 165, 166, he's continuing to go on, trying to break that speed trap, 168 onto the brakes then, as they head down into this left, right, left, they go along. Shipstone gets it for the moment, but look at Neil Bamber in the toe, he'll get so much more, Connery, as he sees that man ahead of him punch through the air for him. He'll just use it to his advantage to just glide his way then towards turn number 1.
He will, and will he be close enough to make a move down into turn number 1? We will just have to wait and see as he closes up. There's about a 3 mile an hour difference between these two cars, and now he's just going to get exacerbated the closer that Neil Bamber gets to his man in front, but not looking for the pass this time. Coming down into turn 1 as Adam Shipstone just gets the entry just a tiny bit wrong, allows Neil Bamber to get right back onto the back of him.
Yeah, there was a big wiggle there down into turn number 1 from Adam Shipstone there. That was the front wheels just not trying to respond, trying to find some grip, trying to find that bite point. In the end, it would bite for him and he would get himself down to turn number 1. But what it has done, it's allowed Neil Bamber to get right up underneath the bumper here in the latter parts of this race. Then into the left of the kink, they come along, looking for that second little horseshoe then here of turn number 6 on circuit then. And you can see the differing lines you can take. You can take that wide line in to get the best exit, or you can take that tight line in to get as much advantage through the first part of the corner, but then you sacrifice this little run down into this left-hander. You can see right now it's all about that run coming out of it. Shipstone now under a little bit of pressure right now here from that driver behind a Neil Bamber as things go on, Connery, and the longer this plays out, the more that strategy comes into play, and positioning that car in the most favourable of positions makes itself so crucial.
Yeah, there's a lapped car ahead that could help Adam Shipstone in the form of the slipstream right here as they come down into the bus stop. Neil Bamber still very, very close, closer than he was last lap. He needs to absolutely nail this bus stop to try and get an opportunity to make a move down into turn 1. There goes that lapped car high up the racetrack. That is Jason Withrow just letting Adam Shipstone by as we see Neil Bamber try and follow in on the low line right there, but I don't think he's going to be close enough this time, but I have been wrong before.
Yeah, have been wrong before. You can see Neil Bamber looking to try and get close to Shipstone, but I don't think he's going to get quite close enough then. Down into turn number 1. Just keep your eyes, though, on the battle for the lead right now. That gap's come down by 3/10 in the last 2 laps. Paul Wormsley then is within 3 seconds then of Aaron. It's not over and done with, and if he can find just a little bit of a good run here coming through this circuit, you might see maybe a little bit of a battle between the 41 and the 12 machine right now as things stand here. You got Wormsley there, and you got Aaron who's managed to get past a bit of lap traffic in the form of Daniel Bailey there. Here, hopefully he won't be driving drunk like the drink, but you can see right now Paul Wormsley just looking to try and close in, but Aaron maybe he's just managing that gap. Maybe he's got to save a bit more fuel as he came in the earliest of those drivers, Connery. There's a lot playing in as he does start to hit a tirade of cars, and he's starting to slowly turn into the worst part of the circuit as he's getting closer and closer to that infield section.
Yes, that could well be the situation as he does get past Anthony Martian at number 33. That is a very, very inventive paint scheme right there for the number 33. It's all technical, but back to Aeronom. He's going to come across the stripe, and he still has a couple of pieces of lap traffic ahead of him. That's Ryan Atmore, Soren Cruz, Simon Jackson, Bart Daleman as well. He'll be coming up on those in not too much time right here, so lots of traffic for Aeronom to deal with. I'm looking back towards Wormsley as well. He has the drive of Daniel Bailey. He has to negotiate, and he's going to get held up here through the S's section down into the International Horseshoe, but Wormsley passed eventually.
Passed eventually, but he's lost 6/10 on that lap alone, so all that work in the past 2 laps when there wasn't really anyone to really get past, that's just slowly been whittled away, and not what Paul Wormsley in the 012 machine really wanted in this situation. Aaron walking away with things once again, but he is coming up on cars. There is actually just got past a couple of cars there, the drivers of Ryan Atmore and Anthony Marshall. Actually, they're going to have to go straight across the grass then as he makes a big mistake coming out of the second horseshoe. Now Nom will catch the likes of Soren Cruz and Simon Jackson, both almost a lap down right now, so that will be something to look out for. Soren Cruz, not the slowest car.
Oh, sorry, that's Neil Bamber around number 5 car has had an incident just coming out the S's, and that was with Van Delden just going side by side through the S's. It's not really a part of the track that you want to be going side by side through, and just a little bit of contact, 2 into 1 doesn't go, and Bamber gets the worst of it.
Yeah, Bamber does get the worst of it, and the thing with Mathieu van Delden, that was full position, and there's a bit of a tap, and he's lucky. You can see a car just getting out of the way. Adam Shipstone just very, very lucky there, able to get himself slowed down for the corner as well. And that one could have ended in a multi-car pileup. You've got to remember here, at a circuit like Daytona, you remember about 2-3 years ago when we saw that Ferrari just stop right in the middle of the mid-chance here going on right now. But with just a couple of moments left as we head into the last 15 minutes, we're going to take you RaceSpotTV side by side just for a moment's time. We'll be back very shortly after this. kicking off then as we come towards the end of a very dramatic race, as we've seen man after man get falling by the wayside. It's Aaron, surprise, surprise, out in front and starting to stretch his legs, break away a little bit then as he gets himself to about a 4-second gap plus as he just crossed the line now to start his 29th lap of this event right now. 44.1, it's 28th lap even, as I correct myself. A 45 flat there for Paul Walmsley. That gap now 4.7 seconds here, Connery. Starting to resign himself to defeat a little bit maybe. That gap though is starting to open in a pretty dramatic fashion.
Yeah, and Paul Walmsley has a very heavily damaged car right now. That's definitely going to be affecting him a lot. So I don't think he's going to be able to catch with a car in a state such as that one. But he has no pressure from behind either. Craig Barnes is still a couple of seconds down the road. So I think your podium is pretty much set at this point. I know I'm risking saying that because we've already had a curse of the commentator moment in this race so far.
Yes, we have, and Scott Brazier's last lap time there in 4th position was a 1:43.4. Compare that to Craig Parks, it was a 1:44.6, so you can see for yourself, that's 1.2 seconds then in the space of a lap, and look at how close they are now on circuit. There's just one car separating the two. The battle for the podium then very much on in this situation, and Craig Parks is getting reeled in, hand over fist by Scott Brazier. What a renaissance by this man, looking to try and get himself back into the podium picture. He did a recovery drive at the last race we went to at Phillip Island, doing so again, doing a great job, Connery.
Yes, he is doing a great job as we look towards the 0.48 as Mike Mason takes a spin across the grass in the infield. What has happened there? Contact with a NARCAR we suspect? No, it's actually he's getting it all wrong coming out of the S's section, overcorrected into the grass and goes for a little spin.
That's what you call a major tank slapper. Just got himself a bit of a drift, tried to bring the car back, and one small correction of the wheel, and he sent spearing all the way over into the infield then around turn number 6. A big problem then for that car as we are going back live here on RaceSpotTV and on iRacingLive right now. The battle certainly heating up, especially that battle going on for the final step of the podium right now. That gap down to just 1.6 seconds then. Still one car in the middle of them. That's Martin Gelenke, who had a little incident earlier on in this race, Connery, looking to come back into it then. Is that driver of Scott Brazier. He can buy his time now. He's got about 10 minutes to play with. Not long, but enough to maybe close down his draft range.
Yeah, remember when I said just a couple of moments ago that your podium may be set? Maybe I was a little bit wrong on that one as they get through lap traffic. That was Martin Brandon just going very, very slow on the exit of turn 5 right there, coming through turn 6, the last corner before the NASCAR banking. Scott Brazier just negotiating some lap traffic. There's Gelenke as Gelenke slaps the wall a little bit. But Scott Brazier, he's running out of time right here. 9 minutes and 25 seconds to go. Can he do it?
Can he do it? That's the question. Just looking here at this battle going on between Phil Bedford and Soren Cruz. That's just dissipated as the race leader, Aaron, then comes through to lap the pair of them there. You can see up to the high side there goes the driver of what is Phil Bedford there. Very respectful then, letting the leader go through. Soren Cruz though gets that breakaway. There might be a case of shadowing there for Bedford as he heads towards turn number 1 as things stand right now. But keep an eye out then on that battle for the final spot on the podium. Now there's no car in between Brazier and Parks. So it looks like the lap time though will be heading in Parks' favour. That gap looks about 1.8 seconds from the eye. We'll see what the timer says as they come across the line. You can see that there. Brazier's lap time of 1:44.2 matches. The gap down 1.5 seconds now here, Connery. So he's not pulling in the gap as much as he would like, but he's running out a little bit of time. He'll be hoping that Aaron gives him an extra lap.
Yep, there was a very slight mistake coming into turn 1 for Craig Parks. He just pushed a little bit wide, did not quite get the apex right there. Just had to control the car, keep it on track and to not spin. But look, what that's done to the gap. Scott Brazier is even closer than he has been at any point during this race. Maybe this is his opportunity when we get to the NASCAR turns in the straights.
Yeah, that might be the case. Also, look, though, at your battle for 6th place on circuit. JPW Ringwood and Simon Underhill, nose to tail, 2 cars ahead of them. John Roberts, a very respected figure in the racing world, and Rolf just there, the German, just ahead of them as well. So 2 cars looking to try and negotiate. Ringwood then is under a lot of pressure then to get around these cars as quickly as he can. He knows he'll just be followed by the car behind him, Underhill, who can just sit in his tracks and just wait for the moment to pounce. Just like a hunter, looking at a deer, looking down the sights, waiting for the shot. And you can see now Underhill tucked right underneath, might use the advantage now, might use it later. Car was off there in the infield. That's Taylor Lane, more troubles for Mr. Lane. He's already hit the retaining wall at turn number 1 earlier on. Now he's started to find himself a few more issues.
Yeah, Lane hasn't really had the best of days out there on track as we still look at that battle between the 54 and the 7, Ringwood versus Underhill as they come onto the brakes into the bus stop. Some lap traffic ahead. That is Rolf just in that number 20. Maybe he'll play a factor in this one as Simon Underhill cuts the last part of the chicane just a little bit. I don't think he got a slowdown penalty for that one, so he still continues on, but he's very, very close. He may have an opportunity coming down into turn 1 this time, Jake.
Yeah, he might. You can see he's tucked in right underneath. Gap between 3rd places. Now down to under a second. You can see, though, to the inside. He tries to Schumacher dummy him, and he gets himself to the inside. Oh, they almost touch as they head to turn number 1. Battle for 6th place going on right now. Another little touch then between the 2. And round the outside, he tries to Ringwood. Big slide, though. Underhill's going to go straight on, and he hits the wall, and he hits Ringwood as well.
Yeah, that is an absolute mirror instant to an instant that we saw earlier on in this race, just hitting the tyres at the start of the pit road wall right there, and there's nothing JPW Ringwood could have done. The car came across right in front of him, not enough time to react. We saw the brakes light up as soon as humanly possible, but it wasn't enough.
Wasn't enough. Replay on screen then of the big one that's just happened. That's going to allow Barry Baird then, second of the Baird brothers, to come back into this one. He's the highest placed Baird at the moment, though, in 8th position right now. He's up 2 for the day, but could make inroads coming in. Look at that battle, though, for the final spot on the podium. Parks being reeled in by Scott Brazier as well then, in that 050 machine. Team Bushfink Paint then, coming down into that chicane bus stop then, running out of time in this one, looking to try and get within a second. You can see very heavy over that curb once again, looking to get in underneath, has the benefit of that toe there, Connery, and that toe, it's so crucial. It gains you about 0.6 of a second here on this infield alone, if not up to a second around a circuit like this. It's paramount to have, especially coming into these final few laps.
Yes, it is, and it's something that Craig Parks currently does not have, so he's looking very, very vulnerable at this late stage in the race. The closest lap traffic that could help is Simon Jackson just coming out of turn 1 right now. So as they come through the S's, they'll be catching that little bit of lap traffic relatively soon right here. May play a factor, but this race for 3rd place is going to be a fantastic one right to the end.
Yeah, it certainly is, and well, he's looking for that opportunity now. Is Scott Brazier. He's been working on it again and again and again, looking to try and find a way through. Don't count out Barry Baird in the situation. Underhill is now under threat a little bit there. The gap now down to 5 seconds there in that one, but you can see there all sorts of wrong in the battle for the podium there. Brazier now all over the back of Parks. He's feeling the pressure underneath his brow as they head with 5 minutes to go, and under here, 5-minute warning. Back up onto the oval once again. Now it's a waiting game. They'll be waiting for that white flag call to come in through the radio. This is the last lap. You got to go all out or you got to go home. Now Brazier just waiting on it. Now that gap down to about 0.4 of a second, Connery. Now it's a game of chess rather than a game of who can go fastest.
Yep, in clear air, I think that Mercedes does have the straight line speed and acceleration advantage over the 4GT, but look at the 4GT just coming through the bus stop section, just closes that gap up just a little bit more. Scott Brazier is trying his best to try and catch up to the back of Craig Parks. There's again some lap traffic ahead. They're coming up on Simon Jackson relatively shortly, and I believe they'll be dealing with some lap traffic also on the last lap right here. That distance looks about right. But Scott Brazier, he's actually just out of the draft. He's negotiating like his car out of the draft. He's running low when the other car's running high. So I'm not entirely sure what Scott Brazier has planned here. Is he having a fuel issue, Jake?
Maybe it might be a fuel issue. Maybe it may be a slowdown, but that could be costly as that gap opens to 1.3 seconds. Scott Brazier in all sorts of trouble then, and hoping for a little bit of a miracle come the end of this one. At the front though, Aeronom, I'm estimating about 3 laps to go then in this motor race with the time he last crossed the line. So keep your eye out on that one then for your race leader, who has dominated proceedings once again. Never once looked like he was in any form of trouble right now. But looking back, Ringwood and Underhill there, they're still close, but look out for Barry Baird. He's still close, and he is closing in then, going about as quick as the leader right now, as that gap now looking to close back down in. Now it's 4 seconds then on the driver, Simon Underhill, and he's going a second a lap quicker right now. Ringwood even slower than that, as both of the cars ahead have damaged there, Connery. We might see a grandstand finish come the end.
2 chances of a grandstand finish, the battle for 3rd place and the battle for 6th, as I'm looking at the front of JPW Ringwood's car, and it does not look good at all. So that'll definitely be compromising him, especially on the straights. He won't have the straight line speed advantage, but Simon Underhill also has extensive damage to his front end as we look towards the 17 and then 37.
Yeah, that's Soren Cruz once again. You can see Phil Bedford as they look to get out of the way. Simon Jackson there, Craig Parks there with Scott Brazier looking to go around the outside. Not going to happen. Oh, he got close and he had to back out of it. That's going to compromise the run. And there was a little bit going on there as they came out then. And it was Brazier going straight on at the bus stop chicane. Had to hit the brakes. So there's that one. And you can see that slowdown now come into effect. Brazier trying too hard, and that one pretty much signs off the podium then. Brazier pretty much resigned to 4th, Connery.
Yeah, and he had about another lap to try that move. As we look towards where Aeronom is, he's on the infield section right now. He was very, very close coming across the line, but I think we will have another lap unless Aeronom deliberately decides to slow it down to end the race early, which will be beneficial for him. There's one more lap to not deal with traffic.
No, I don't think that is really possible at all, because the gap to the car behind is 6 seconds. He can't slow down 10 seconds on circuit and hope that Paul Wormsley runs into troubles. That can't happen. That battle, though, for 6th position will continue on. JPW Ringwood then still has Simon Underhill all underneath him right now. Barry Baird isn't close enough. He's there about 4.6 behind. He'll pick up the loose pieces if anything should happen to these two come the final 2 laps then of your motor race right now. And Connery, if you've got to put your money on any of these two then and taking 6th place, who's your money on?
Oh, I don't really know. It's a very, very, very close battle, but I think Simon Underhill, if he can get a good run out of the bus stop to the finish line, then he will be the 6th place driver right here. But it's very, very close, and not all that much difference between the 2 drivers, as we see Simon Underhill actually try almost a move on the inside of JPW Ringwood there, as JPW Ringwood just pushed a little bit wide with having some issues with the lap car of Martin Brandon. So I don't know who's going to come out on top of this one.
Oh, it's going to be one of those things. They head towards the final lap of this race. This will be the last lap when they cross the line. 59 minutes, 48 seconds to the outside. Tries Underhill, and he'll get a try to around the outside. He gets hung out to dry, and we'll have to wait again for another opportunity with that last lap to go then here in this situation through the bus stop. He's still within range. There's a head to turn number 1. He might wait on this one, wait for the final lap shenanigans to start up again. Brazier, though, is within about a second and a half. There might be something there as well to look at come the end, but you can see again, Underhill goes to the outside. Underhill will look for 6th position. Underhill will try on Ringwood, and Ringwood, trying to be resilient on defense, will hold him to the outside as these two go into turn number 1. They've tangled once before down here, and a big side to the inside. Underhill's not going to get that one. They wait just for the moment, and you can see Scott Brazier. Yeah, you say that one, Connery. Craig Parks then looking to go in and get himself a little bit of a gap away. Brazier in all sorts of trouble, and Scott Brazier, oh dearie, dearie me, has ended in all sorts of mire there as the 050s on pit road. His day is done. A 4th place has gone away from him at the last place they can, but your leader, the 041 machine, has just come out of the bus stop chicane. And who can blame him for going and doing what he does right now? He was so dominant in qualifying. He found 4/10 of a second. And you know what? He said he'd try and do it once again. He will be 2 for 2 as things stand right now, as Aeronom will come to the line. The Rolling Estonian rolls on, and he marches to Bathurst next week. A 2-time winner and dominant in the championship as things stand. Wormsley will come home in 2nd position. Craig Parks will come home in third. And out of all surprises, a great drive from John Cook, quietly up to fourth position, but it's not over in the battle for sixth, and they're going to be nose to tail, Connery, coming to the line.
Yes, indeed they are. It's Simon Underhill, which will have the benefit of the draft coming towards the line right here. They're just coming out of NASCAR Turn 4. There's a tail end of the draft from some lapped cars ahead. Will Simon Underhill try and get to the line before JPW Ringwood? Will he is the better question to ask, as he does not. JPW Ringwood will get that fifth place when all is said and done because of Scott Brazier's problems.
Yeah, and a mistake for Barry Baird as well means he will drop a position, but technically he'll gain one with the incident for Scott Brazier as well. Just looking for some more battles coming to the end of this one. Dilworth will go side by side with the driver and Lee Bunker a lap down as they get themselves to the line, and still looking back we go. Still some battles going on. The 048 machine then in a world of troubles right now. That's Mike Mason then, who's getting himself into a big battle. He's got himself over the line, and actually something to look at there, that was Matisse van Delden. I think he's out of fuel coming across the line there, Connor. He'll finish down in 16th position overall. A big mistake from him. You can't afford to run out of fuel around a circuit like this.
Yes, indeed. And out of curiosity, I just looked at the pit stop times for your various drivers. Aeronom did a 24.1 second stop. Wormsley did a 22.6. And I think Scott Brazier's time was actually in the 20 of second mark. So a little bit too less fuel being put in at the pit stop means Scott Brazier couldn't make it towards the end of this race without massive fuel saving.
No, he couldn't, and that is crucial. Race results then, let's get them up on your screen right now. This is how everyone's finished. Aeronom then gets himself a crucial victory then at Daytona. Already takes the win by 6.8 seconds then over the driver of Paul Wormsley in second. Craig Parks will round out your podium. John Cook, a great drive from him, quietly getting himself up to fourth position with JPW Ringwood and Simon Underhill fifth and sixth in their drag race to the line. Adam Atherton will come home in 7th with Barry Baird 8th. Adam Shipstone then comes home to 9th with Jason Dilworth up 12 positions in the end. A quiet drive gets him a very solid 10th. Raoul Huben then finishes in 11th position with Neil Bamber 12th. Philip Gregory comes home 13th with Mike Mason 14th. Tony Baird there in 15th with Matisse van Delden running out of fuel over the line. Scott Brazier then runs out of luck then come the final lap of this race. Last of the cars then technically scored on the lead lap in 17th. And then you look further down, the likes of Ben Ackerson for a second time, Soren Kroos as well, running into troubles today. Martin Gelenke, one lap down. Also the likes of Simon Jackson, Andrew Tobat. You look at the likes of Taylor Lane running into troubles. And you also look at the likes of, say, those who have failed to finish, the likes of Rick Fowler, Craig Williams, Jonathan Bethel, and Lee Woodburn as well. Well, we're going to step aside for just one moment's time. When we come back, post-race coverage to you of the Synology GT3 Championship here on RaceSpotTV and iRacingLive. Don't go away. fantastic race then we have just seen from Daytona Road. We're in post-race coverage here on RaceSpotTV and iRacingLive of the Synology GT3 Championship right now. We're going to quickly speak then to Craig Parks, who finished in 3rd position right now. Craig, a good result for you. Had a little bit of worries come the end of that race, but with about 2 laps to go, someone managed to miss the chicane.
Yeah, he was coming quick as well, Scott was. It was a tough race. I don't know if you saw the pit stop, lap 20. Back marker in front of me just wanted to ride the brakes all the way out, which probably cost me P2. But yeah, I enjoyed it. First time in this car. Here we go.
Gave it a go, and well, a circuit like this, it demands a lot of respect. We've seen the Daytona 24-hour coming into play, a lot of areas here and there, looking to try and use that experience of the 24-hour race maybe to bring that extra hours practicing in these GT3 machines. For you, a result maybe you could have got 2nd, but 3rd place is still some very decent points as you move over to Bathurst.
Yeah, it is. I mean, I must admit, Bathurst is probably my favourite track on the service, so I'll be pushing hard to pull the Merc round there. So yeah, after last week's performance, I think this week was well justified.
Very well justified indeed. Well, that would be Craig Parks then, 3rd place actually in the 002 machine. Connery standing by with your 2nd place man in the form of Paul Walmsley.
Hello there, Paul. You qualified 4th, ended up in the 2nd place, so that was an absolutely fantastic run for you out there today. How was it behind the wheel?
Yeah, it was fine. I'd like to thank Craig Williams for the setup. We've been racing Daytona 24 with it, so that helped me out a lot.
Setup very, very important in this series, of course. Perhaps not as important as in some other series, but it can be the difference between winning and losing. But I just have to ask you here, Paul, is Eero non-catchable? You finished 6.8 seconds behind him today.
I don't think he is for me anyway. I think he was saving fuel and I still couldn't catch him, so I'd have to work a hell of a lot to catch him.
Yeah, we had a couple of drivers having some issues, shall we say, coming off of pit road. How was that one for you? It is a tricky pit exit, but some drivers were hitting walls and getting the track exit partially blocked. You didn't seem to have that many issues, though, going through there.
No, coming out at pit seems to be alright, just take it easy. We've been in and out of him enough at Daytona 24, so we knew what we're there. Just got to keep your eye on all traffic.
So you had basically plenty of practice, you were just saying right there. But that is your 2nd place driver, Paul Walmsley, in that number 12 car. Back to you, Jake.
Yeah, standing by then with your race winner, Eru Nom. 2 from 2 then here on RaceSpotTV. Eru, another day, another victory. You find yourself at the front of the field, qualified 4/10 quicker than the rest of the field. A bit of plain sailing, you could say.
Yeah, I thought it will be harder, but had some scares in the first lap, but in the end, pretty good, I think.
Yeah, you think you did pretty well, and of course it definitely showed onto the broadcast. I mean, we saw a lot of battles here and there further on back through the field. You saw drivers one by one pick away from your group. You started to break the draft just a little bit. That pit stop window, though, when you come into that, you're seeing the lap traffic that's in and around you, taking that very, very narrow, very tight pit stop. In some ways, you could say you could be grateful for not having any sort of traffic in front of you when you were leaving pit road. But for you, you know, it's a very difficult pit road, and we found that, you know, there are a lot of drivers coming through. Do you think that it's one of the most difficult ones on the service?
Yeah, definitely. In the 24 hours, I crashed into pit wall, so it's tricky. And, yeah.
Very tricky, and of course next week we are heading over back to the land down under. We are heading to Mount Panorama, Bathurst. A very difficult mistress to conquer, let's say. Very easy to make a mistake if you just run a millimetre wide here or there. So for you, you know, 2 from 2. Are we going to see 3 from 3?
Well, we have to see. I don't really like Bathurst, but I think I had to practice a lot.
Has to practice a lot, maybe a chance for everyone else. Well, fantastic to see your race winner, Eru Nom, in the commentary box. 4th place, so standing by with Connery Maddock. Quickfire interviews with John Cook.
Yes, hello there, John. We saw you fighting with the likes of Craig Parks, GPW Ringwood, and Simon Underhill, at least in the earlier stages of this race. You did finish in a little bit of clean air, however, a couple of seconds behind Craig Parks and a couple of seconds ahead of GPW Ringwood. So a very quiet second half to the race for you.
Yeah, it was. It was. I was quite grateful for it, to be honest, because it's intense. It's really, really intense Daytona with the draft. You can't really pull away. So when I was able to pull away and just and relax a little bit, it was a godsend, because the tyres were going off a little bit by that point anyway. So it was good.
Yeah, of course, you don't take tyres in the pit stops here in this series. It's way too short of a race to be doing that. You did mention the draft there, however. Me and Jake like to stress how important the draft is around a track like Daytona, but just have to ask one of these drivers in this series, how important is it at a track like Daytona?
It's huge. It's well over us. It's around about a second a lap for the most part, and then also from race strategy wise, if you just sat behind somebody, you can half throttle it, and then you save just a bunch of fuel, so you can even have a shorter pit stop. It's huge.
It is a huge difference right there. That was straight from the mouth of John Cook, ending up finishing in 4th place after qualifying in 8th. A fantastic run there, Jake.
Yeah, certainly was. We're going to speak to JPW Ringwood then very, very quickly. JPW, well, you found yourself in a fantastic little scrap come the end of that race with Simon Underhill. You got yourself into a little bit of a scrap, and in the end, we saw a little bit of drama come the end of that race.
Yeah, certainly wasn't
calling JPW, no, not calling JPW, maybe a little few technical issues there we're having right now, so we'll very quickly just pop over and see a different driver here, Taylor Lane. Let's try and get him in the box. Taylor, a difficult day for you, let's say, a couple of incidents here and there, and it ended for you in a little bit of a couple of laps down.
Yeah, it was an unfortunate race. I was trying to make my way up the field, but got into a 3-wide battle into turn 1. Caught the grass on the inside, and I don't know how, but the rear end just spun around. But yeah, I tried fighting my way back.
Try fighting your way back, maybe looking for some clearer skies come Bathurst next week?
Only wait and see.
Maybe wait and see indeed. Well, JPW, are you back with us, buddy? Hoping, waiting. No, we're not going to get that chance, maybe.
He's very, very quiet.
Very, very quiet. I mean, we can try and get as much gain as we can, Connery, but at the moment, doesn't seem to be working with us. We are going to try and just hold out on that one, as we are going to try and end our coverage here, ladies and gentlemen. We've had ourselves some fantastic racing here up and down your field. Huge thank you to all the drivers, all the teams, everyone who's been trying here from Daytona Road. Next week, 1 week's time, we will be heading here in this Synology GT3 Championship Series. We will be heading over to the track of Mount Panorama, Bathurst. The maiden is a very difficult one to tame. Who will be the one to tame that? You can only catch that here on RaceSpotTV and iRacingLive. Also, you have to look around further on into this week. You got yourselves the likes of, let's say, your Formula Renault 2.0 Championship. Join myself and Paul for that one in what will be a fantastic race around Zolder. And also, we got a bit of NASCAR coming for you on Thursday evening as well. Join myself and Connery for that one as we move further on. That's been Connery Maddock, that's been Hugo Louise, I've been Jake Sperry, and that's 2 for 2 for Eru Nom as he moves on forward then to Bathurst. He doesn't really like the circuit. Maybe it's a chance to see a different winner. Good night.